Hello, and welcome to another episode of All or Nada according to Jack. And as you can see, I have a very special guest for me, Mr. Martin Popoff. Uh,
Yeah, how you doing, Jack? Excited about doing this with you. Very
yes.
cool. Congrats on the new channel.
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, not half as excited as I am. I think you're like my most important guest that I've had on my show, and I've
Yeah,
had quite a
cool.
few. So this is
Right on.
going to be fun. So basically what this is going to be another addition to our A Day in the Life series. So today we're going to talk about a day in the life of Martin Popoff. So Martin is a famous Canadian book author and rock journalist. So maybe if you can just tell us about yourself in a few words, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just tell you the current situation, I suppose. So yeah, I'm mostly writing rock books all the time. A lot of magazine work and liner notes and website stuff has fallen away over the decades and years. So I'm essentially writing a lot of books and kind of doing a lot of video shows too, and my audio podcast, History in 5 Songs with Martin Popoff. But the main job is writing the books, and really the other half of the main job is being a mail order guy of my own books.
Okay, mail order guy and not mail order guide or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's really great. So the way I normally format it, normally I'll talk about you, the person, a little bit first, and just try to get to know you a little better. Then we'll delve into basically your occupation and what you do outside of all of the video recordings, and as you said, your audio podcast. So tell us about the typical day in the life of Martin Popoff. So like on a typical Tuesday.
Yeah, boy. Well, so the house is about a 25-minute walk from the office. So I have a condo that I bought to use as an office. Bought the condo in 2005, got the house in 92, moved to Toronto in 89. So it's like come to the office, get set up. Usually here pretty early. I'm definitely a morning person. Pete Pardo can attest to that. we like doing our show in the morning. But yeah, I'm definitely a morning person too. Yeah, so just check Facebook. I'm a little addicted to Facebook and not addicted really to anything else. Don't even have a cell phone yet. And so I actually just started doing a little bit of TikTok, but that's on my PC. I had that set up by my my technical buddy over at the podcast. But so not really big into Twitter, or never tried Instagram, blah blah blah. But I'm kind of addicted to Facebook, and I'm good at it. Right? It's the thing I know. So I do that and check my mail, put out any fires. Hopefully get some writing done first thing in the morning, because my window as I get older is closing and getting smaller and smaller of being productive and having my brain work properly. So, I got to really make sure 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I get 2 or 3 good productive hours of crushing, mind killing heavy writing done. And then after that, I can deal with C priorities for the rest of the day.
Okay, that's very cool. So what do you typically do on the weekend, off of work? What do you do for enjoyment?
Boy, we've always been good. Myself, I've got a son who's 22 now and just finishing up university in journalism, and he's a big sports guy. Married, and we've always been good with going to lots of Blue Jays and TFC games. And Argos, not so much Leafs, Raptors somewhat, but we've done a lot of vacations where we've gone and watched, Eastern Michigan, Michigan State, the Lions, the Bills all the time. We've seen the Bills many times. My son, when he was literally like 8, 9 years old, for some reason was into the Bengals. So we joined the Bengals fan club, and we've been there to see Cincinnati. I think we've seen a preseason game and a regular, but we've seen games we've seen, who else have we seen? Chicago, we've been to Chicago for that. We've seen
Oh,
NHL kind of all over the place,
I've
NBA
never
all
been
over
to
the place.
Chicago.
So yeah, big into that stuff. What else? Try to get a little exercise. Just bought a new bike finally after giving up my old one that I had for 30 years. Just got a new one a couple weeks ago. Get some jogging in. Maybe this weekend I went and saw kind of a bit of a museum thing. I'm a big museum guy, big art guy. So I'm always into that sort of stuff. So yeah, we get out for walking around. There's a lot of good nature around where the house is, even though we're right in the middle of the city. But there's a big valley that goes through Toronto, and there's a lot of trails, good bike trails and stuff in there. So we do
very
that as well.
nice.
There
Very
you go.
cool.
Oh, and
So,
Formula One's a big thing for me now. I'm your typical got hooked by Drive to Survive on Netflix, and now I'm a Formula One nut. So when it's race weekend, I'm watching practice, I'm watching qualifying, I'm watching the race, I'm reading all the news. Just
that's
obsessed
cool.
with it. Yeah. It's
Is that similar to NASCAR? Or
well, it's the kind of European and world circuit of big flat Formula One cars, right? So
okay.
it's a whole different kind of thing, but yeah, it's vaulted way to the top of my favorite sport. I mean, it's gone past the Bills. The Bills are really out of all three of us, all our teams collectively, I think we're bigger Bills fans than anything else. But it was really nice when the Raptors went and won the NBA championship. That was crazy. The party for that was 4 million people downtown.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was nuts. That was really cool. And my son Trevor, he went down, and I don't think we got out to any of the big games near the end, but he was down in the crowd that's assembled out there, and I think he was down there for the last game as well. So he'd go down with buddies and hang out for that. But he's done a lot of sports writing, and he may end up in that field. But that's kind of his big thing is sports so far.
Okay, that's cool. So, what would you say your favorite sport is?
Now I would definitely say it's Formula One. I have almost an unhealthy, obsession with it. So unhealthy, in fact, that I'm not even going to watch the new series of Drive to Survive because I kind of know it all, and it seems like below my pay grade now. But I would say starting with that now, which is recent, and then after that, NFL football.
Okay, cool. Well, those are my two favorites, baseball and NFL football.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, okay. So, any pets?
No, we never did end up getting any pets because I found out working at Banger Films that I'm allergic to dogs. They would trigger migraines in me. I would get the original or the occasional migraine, and I didn't know why. And so we found out, and I went and got the big dander test and all that stuff, and found out, you're kind of allergic to dogs, which kind of ticked off my wife and son. They kind of wanted a dog, but we never did end up getting one.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry to hear that, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find other substitutes for that, but
Yeah. I mean, well, the world probably in any big city is dog crazy, but you would not believe everybody's got dogs around here, right?
yeah.
Especially in the office. My office is in like a condo building,
Oh,
and
okay.
it just seems like everybody has dogs.
Yeah. Well, I have one. I know Pete has three. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Favorite foods?
Boy, I don't know. I'll eat anything, but ribs definitely. I'm a big ribs guy. I'm a big barbecue guy.
Okay.
So I'm definitely not a vegan. I'm definitely a big meat eater. I eat cereal for lunch every single day.
Interesting.
Never wane off of that. And I would say for breakfast almost every single day, some variation of toast and peanut butter or hazelnut butter or something.
Nice.
And when you do that, you quickly become a complete expert on peanut butter and bread and everything all over town, right? Because it literally is every day. So, but I don't want to sound like I just eat the same thing every day, but I do eat the same thing every breakfast and every lunch. But after that,
well,
we cook a lot. We do a lot of things. We get a lot of takeout in and stuff as well.
So. Well, that's incentive. I need to eat more cereal. Too much. I've been doing a lot of traveling upstate for a side project, and we've been eating junk food. And yeah, of course it's convenient, but I think I should prep better. But
yeah. Yeah, my plan, always battling the weight and all that and trying to do well. So I try to get past breakfast and I try to get past lunch without creating, uh doing too many sins, and then I leave my sins for later. So
All right. Okay, so this is a relatively easy one. Is there anything that you would like to share that nobody knows about you?
that's an easy one.
Well,
That's probably
for
the
me,
hardest one. Boy, I
if you
don't
can't
know.
think of it, we can move on. That's cool.
Yeah, no, you flummoxed me. I can't think of anything.
I flummoxed the great Martin.
I'll say one thing. I really want to do way more art, and it's just always been on the sideline. I've always done a little bit at a time. And in the 90s, I was painting and I was selling the stuff, and I got in gallery shows and things like that. But I kind of stopped doing that. And lately I've been just doing drawing because it's easy. So I've been drawing these fake ads, and I drew all these illustrations for my Blue Oyster Cult Flaming Telepaths book, and yeah, making up imagined ads and all this. Kind of a long story. I post them on my Facebook once in a while, but I definitely, to me, my top career goal for like 25 years has been not to write books and not to do anything with music. It's to do art.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just one day want to get around to it finally.
Well, I think there's an art to the books that you create,
Well, thanks. Yeah. But
yeah.
after doing 115, the bloom has worn off,
Okay.
feeling all that enthused about it.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get too much into me, but from time to time, I like to take pictures and make my own books. My own personal books to
Huh.
like. I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of that company. It starts with an S. That.
Oh yeah, wow. So you order up the hardcover books that look totally like real books
Well, yeah. Well,
from
what
them.
I'll do
Yeah,
is I'll take my vacation pictures and I'll make a book out of it. And
yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Nice.
I'm just totally lost. I can't think of the name of the company, but it'll come to me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Starts
I
with
know it does start with S. You're right. Or
yeah,
one I got sent a sample by them.
Shutterfly. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoy doing that. Okay, so we'll talk about you as an author. So tell us a little bit about your background as an author.
Wow. So when I was we had a business, myself and a partner, and we both worked out of home. Going back a little bit, so I did a BA in English, and then I did an MBA at McMaster here in Canada, and then I worked for Xerox for a couple years, and then I quit that, and which caused a lot of consternation. I had a 6-hour exit interview where they tried to talk me out of it, and but I did. And so first I started in Vancouver, and then I transferred with Xerox to Toronto, and then, met these guys. And so we started a business, and for 10 years we had what they used to call desktop publishing, but print broking business, where we would go around. I'd cold call the towers. Me and my sales background, right? I did 1,000 cold calls through the towers of Toronto in 3 months, and we were off and running. And so anyways, I was felt comfortable with the printing process, and my partner was a layout, he laid out books and stuff, right, in our job. So I just started writing all these record reviews because I thought I'd like to really organize all this stuff in my mind. This guy goes to this band and this band and this band. There's all these genres coming up. So I just wrote an independently produced book of record reviews called Riff Kills Man, 25 Years Recorded Hard Rock and Heavy Metal. And then after that, I did an updated version, a little bit better writing, but still horrible writing, in 1997 called The Collector's Guide to Heavy Metal. And then off to the races. Along the way, I met Tim Henderson, and he had started, and we started together on my photocopier right at home. Didn't have the office at that point. Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles. So starting to interview people all the time and write more reviews and more and more and more. And then it just started to be 1 book, 2 books a year, 3 books a year, 4 books a year. And then eventually it ended up kind of 7, 8, 9 books a year. I think I had 11 couple years ago.
Wow.
So the books just started taking over as the magazine stuff started going down. Like I was a monthly paid writer for that magazine while writing for other magazines and websites and liner notes and all that stuff along the way. But with all the changes in technology and the death of magazines, essentially, the book thing really took over time. So that's the slow ramp up. A book in 93, a book in 97, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of every year picking
Okay.
up after that.
Oh, great. Wow. Okay. So if you had to give it a number, how many books do you think you've written? Approximate.
It's about 115 is the number I use now, right?
Wow.
And
That's
you
fantastic.
know, some of those are they don't have a lot of writing in them. Some of those are redone versions of an older book, but not many. I mean, it's probably, you know, a solid 90 books.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. Wow. Great. Okay. Couple more book related. What would you say your favorite book that you've written, if you had one?
You know what? My 3 favorite are all the exact same format. I used to say that my favorite was the Led Zeppelin, all the albums, all the songs, where I had to write reviews of every single Led Zeppelin song.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I did one on the Clash, and then that was my favorite. And now I've done one on the Damned, and now that's my favorite. So
Oh,
I've written you know, reviews and analyzed, put on the headphones, what's going on the left channel, what's going on the right channel, all that stuff. Is that triangle, or is that bells, or what is it? You know, all that for every single Damned song. So literally those 3 are my 3 favorites right there. Just you know, no interview stuff. Just hardcore analyzing these songs one after another until you've reviewed the whole catalog. It's kind of a very satisfying thing, just as a completist to like look at a catalog that carefully, but also just from you know, the craft of writing point of view. It's hard writing.
oh, okay. Good to know. Thank you. So let's see, what do we have next? What would you say your toughest book was to write?
I got a funny answer for that one because I had one called The Goldmine Guide to Heavy Metal Records. And that thing took so many days and weeks and months because it was essentially a big, boring guide of lists of albums with catalog numbers and coming up with a price when there sort of was some stability to pricing these things. I ended up later being the guy on the cover of a bunch of those big, massive gold mine guides, right? But that one took so long because it came out in 2001. So it was essentially done, written, all the gray matter for it was done pre-internet. So it was just piles of papers and photocopies of this and that and flipping through this and reconciling. It's done old school, right? Because the internet basically started in 96. So by 2001, you know, the hockey stick is way at the bottom of the hockey stick still. There's not much online by 99 and 2000, right? For that sort of thing. So yeah, that one was a real pain and not much of a reward because it wasn't a huge seller and it's not even writing. It's just this big obsolete book of heavy metal listings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to switch it up a little bit. So earlier we were talking about the Contrarians. What could you tell me about that?
Wow. So that started when Marco and Nick had all this great recording gear. So pre-COVID, I think Marco says we started in 2015, maybe that's too early. But anyways, so they would come over to my office, bring all this equipment, and we'd film very professionally. They'd bring lights and there'd be computer setup and all this stuff. And they just had access to all this stuff and they were enthusiastic about doing this show. So we quickly put together a show idea. I think it took me 5 minutes to basically say, okay, well, how about somebody has a contrarian choice for their favorite album and they have to argue it. And this, and it's like, boom, there we got a show. So we started it that way. But soon as COVID hit, we quickly moved over to Zoom and we're so entrenched and ingrained into that. And Marco's and Nick's editing just gets better and better and better. And it looks more professional every single episode. I mean, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
So I really love that those guys are into the whole putting that together. And Marco's really enthusiastic about setting up shows and doing the panels and the Patreon stuff and coming up with show ideas. So he kicks my butt in terms of productivity. And he's the brains behind all the, like, you know, making sure we're posting on YouTube and getting paid by YouTube and doing the Patreon thing and doing all of that nice, beautiful, slick editing that we do for the show with putting in all the graphics and all that. So it's a great team. I'm totally happy with the team. I hope he's happy with me doing it.
Oh, I'm sure
but
he is.
yeah, but we have lots of new people who have been Patreons that have come on and done shows, and buddies of mine. So we've had a nice little panel and cast, and I think we're up to about 150 different shows that weeve done.
Nice. Wow.
So it's quite a few, and we have how many subscribers do we have? Oh, I don't even want to guess. Because I'll get it wrong. I'll get it mixed up with my own
And how
subscribers.
often do you record? I'm just curious.
It's sporadic. It's whenever, but it's regular. It's we don't have a set schedule.
Okay.
But we're good for 2 or 3 shows a week, kind of thing.
Okay, because that's about what I strive for, a couple a week.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get burned out with all this stuff going on in my life. But
Yeah.
so that's it's a good little gauge for me to ask that one.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'll go in random order. Do you have any future books planned?
Well, I got the Bowie book that's finished and coming out shortly. I've got a finished copy of it. It's the swankiest, most expensive book ever done for me. I've got finished. I've got a Bad Company visual biography getting ready to be done at Weimar. Already at getting printed right now is Yes Visual Biography 2, 1982 to 2022. I've got the Damned one that's finished. We're taking my old Alice Cooper book and breaking it into the original Alice Cooper band and the solo years and putting those out as probably trade paperbacks, so less production values, but just smaller normal books. Let's see, what else can I say? I probably shouldn't say, so I won't, but I've got finished. Hang on, do I get finished? Yeah, I do. Yeah. So finished 2 really, really nice, swanky, beautiful books, again, for my favorite big US publisher who do beautiful, beautiful books of mine. So those, I probably shouldn't say what they are because I don't think they've been announced yet. And I'm halfway through another one for them. So 2 more finished, haven't seen page layouts yet, and 1 half done at this point. And I'll just hint that they're based around 50th anniversaries of a couple of
nice.
things.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
I can't
And
wait.
what else? Let's see. I did the Dio a couple weeks ago. The Dio came out, Dream Evil, Dio in the 80s. And because that's done well enough, I'm definitely going to do the second half one where it'll be, the 90s through to the end. So Dio will turn into a 2-parter. I'm famous for that now, making 2-part, 3-part versions of these stories.
Oh yeah, no.
After a while, especially when I update them, kind of thing.
So I recorded with Rick Labonte last week, but we did a Rush episode, and he showed me his books that he bought from you. They look very intriguing, like might be a future purchase for me.
Yeah, cool.
Especially the earlier books. So
yeah.
But
nice.
Just so everybody knows, my first purchase is the Judas Priest coffee table book. I cannot wait to get that.
Yeah.
And it's that, as a longtime Priest fan, I think that's gonna, the fact that I haven't seen them on this tour, I think that is a very good substitute,
Yeah.
to
When I get those
celebrate.
books, the first thing I do is count up all the pictures of stuff, and I think there's something like 450 pictures in that thing, and
Nice.
then a detailed timeline. Some of them have a detailed timeline, and some of them have a detailed timeline where I add quotes as well. The Bad Company will all have quotes. The Nazareth has quotes. The Uriah Heep we sandbagged a little bit because myself and a good buddy here in Canada, who's one of the great Uriah Heep scholars in the world, we have so much stuff amassed that we figure between the 2 of us we could do a Uriah Heep trilogy easily enough of books like I did with the Rush books, big huge books full of words, three books easily on Heep if we ever get around to it.
Okay, that's cool. Now I'm shocked that I didn't even put this question into my notes, and I had intended to ask you, how difficult would you say it is to research for a typical book like Rush, for example? What goes into
Well,
research?
yeah, they all have different stories. I mean, it depends how many of my own interviews I already have. However many interviews I can access, buddies interviews or whatever. How many books I already have on the band, how many magazines I have full of stuff on the band, how much the band has already talked about online. So it all varies. How complicated is the story going to be? Is it a band that I do want to spend a chapter on every album? Because there's a lot of bands where I won't write a book on them because I don't want to talk about their last 10 albums and give every one of them a chapter. I've cheated on that one a few times where I've done just like framed it. Okay, I'm going to talk about this amount. Basically every book, Jack, as soon as you're around 75,000 words, 80,000 words, you've got a book. That's a book.
Okay.
So if you go way over that, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You may as well bust it into 2 books and try sell 2 books. If you're under that, it's too, you don't want to cheat anybody either. And say
Right.
that, you're buying a book and it's only 100 pages and it's really short. So I don't put out anything that's too short either. Right. But, so, there's various ways to come up with a book that you say, okay, I can write a book on that band. The nice thing that's happened lately is with these timeline books and with the books I've been doing for Voyager over the years, Motor Books Voyager, there have been concepts that have been brought up internally, just like you and I will come up with a show idea or whatever, right?
Right.
They'll sometimes come up with a book idea. And like, for instance, this David Bowie book wasn't my idea. They came to me and said, here's the concept. It's called Bowie at 75. We want you to write about 75 career milestones or highlights from David Bowie. That's it. That's your concept. So I could do that book because they're not asking me. I mean, I've never interviewed David Bowie. It's like, how many times have you interviewed David Bowie and people in the band? 0. Doesn't matter for a book like this. I'm literally writing about, sort of canned entries on 75 highlights, and I come up with the list and make it up. So, one of my other ones coming is along these lines, and then the other 2, like I say, are about 50th anniversaries. But so it's nice when there are bands where there's no way in heck that I'm ever going to be able to write a book on because I don't have any interviews or very few interviews. But then a concept comes along and surprise, I can do it, which is like that whole album by album series that we did with Voyager, where I did I assembled a cast of experts and then interviewed them all and did Q&A on every studio album. We did a Queen one, Iron Maiden, Rush, AC/DC, and somebody else, Pink Floyd. So I would never have been able to write a Pink Floyd book, but this concept came along, boom, got a Pink Floyd book. So
good. Okay, great. All right. So we're going to go into the last section now. And I call this musical analyst related. And there's only a few. And these first couple, I asked Pete the same question. So here goes. Amount of time you spend listening to new music versus known favorites that you grew up with. What would you say that that ratio is?
I have a trick answer to that one because, okay, so the known favorites, I'm the good part of my listening habits is known favorites is probably a lot less than you would think, but still quite a few known favorites. So I'm still guilty of that, just treading the same ground over and over again.
Oh, okay.
But I listen to practically no new music unless it's a band that I have a long track record with. And then I'm on board with all of those bands. But the one way I do listen to a lot of new music is I listen to a heck of a lot of new old music. So I find myself enamored with the idea of finding things from the 70s and 80s I have no clue about. I just don't know much about the band. They have 15 albums out. I love that sort of exploration of quote unquote new music, but it's new to me, but it's old music. So I am very guilty, and it's not a good thing to admit, but I am very guilty of not listening to a ton of brand new bands.
Okay.
I definitely don't do a lot of that.
Guilty is charged here as well.
Yeah.
But I do try to learn from Pete's channel whenever possible. So
Yeah, it's great what Pete does. I mean, Pete has a really healthy attitude to it, and that's why he's got such a great show, because he's so enthusiastic about all kinds of music, number one, but also tons of new music. And he just knows so much about so many different bands in so many genres, right? He knows a heck of a lot more than I do, that's for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
As ashamed I am to admit it, but that is true. So next question. So when reviewing an album, how many spins would you say it takes you to be able to get that album that you can actually do a review on camera, or write something down on paper?
If I know the band really, really, really well, it takes about 10 seconds of each song once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what is that? That's about 1/50th of a spin.
Yeah, I'd say.
So it's not even one spin.
Wow.
So, and I've reviewed many, many albums that way, and I know I'm getting it right, because I literally could almost sing you the whole album before you even play it with some of these bands, right?
Well, yeah.
And I know exactly what's going on, and I know, well, okay, I've heard the verse. I know what they're going to do there's not going to be many surprises. So you could do it really, really quick. But other things you just play over and over a few times. It's nice if you got a big serious review to do, you just play it in the background for a while. So you do some attentive listening, you do some osmosis listening, but swear to God, I mean, most albums I've ever reviewed, and I've done about 9,000 reviews, most albums in the neighborhood of one whole spin, if lucky.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I'm getting better, but I'm at about 2 spins now. But
Right.
But anyway, okay. So I have one more question, and then I have a very funny quick story, and it relates to your site. So
All right.
I'll tell you about it. But okay, so Pete just started a new show called The Curse of the Collector. How bad would you say your curse is?
Wow. So we're actually going to do a Contrarians panel on collecting. It had nothing to do with Pete coming up with this show, but it's just one of these things Marco came up with, and that's in a few days. So I'll be talking a little bit about that. I have a very odd way of collecting. It's not that odd. I've heard other people say this as well before. It's more like amassing, where, I mean, in the old days, I wanted to have one copy of every album by a band, and that was it. I mean, it was never even I need the CD and the vinyl of it, right? It was never like that. So I went that far, but then over the years, it's like I've essentially, it's kind of a long rambling answer, but let's go with this first of all. The presence of Spotify has really dented my head when it comes to the idea of really needing to own things, right?
Agreed.
So I don't buy anything anymore. It's been a few years since I've even gone and done an interview with a band and then asked the PR guy to send me a physical copy of it. It's like they don't want to hear that. It just ticks them off. So I've stopped asking. So I'm interviewing bands all the time about their new album. 2 years later, I've still never owned a copy of it. Right.
Yeah.
When in the old days, even just like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, you would always be sent copies of what you have.
Right.
So having said that, I mean, most of my CDs, I've got 18,000 CDs and most of them were free. Right.
Yeah.
But it's just amassing, and it's a lot of crap too, because I also have this thing that I've been doing over the years where buddies would show up at my office and beg to buy things off me, and I'd slowly sell things off to them. Right. So it's funny. I go on Pete's show and I go and I'm kind of in horror that I don't even have a copy of that album anymore that I need to talk about or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a lot of stuff, but put it this way, my vinyl at its peak was 11,000. It's now down to 5.
Oh.
I might have I might have 300 rock books. I have a kind of an unhealthy love of 45s. So I have probably 3,000 45s, but they don't take up a lot of space.
Right.
Got a little, I love paper goods because they don't take up a lot of room. So I've got press kits and tour programs and ticket stubs and backstage passes. Love all that kind of stuff. Love quirky things like letters, press release letters and things like that. I love all that kind of stuff. I'm a huge autograph hound. Like that was a big
Oh,
thing
wow.
that's taken over for a while. So I've got all that in a database. I've got about 3,000 autographed items. But a lot of those I've kind of sold off to buddies over the years. I've never done anything on eBay. I've never sold anything in my life, out there in the world, but just buddies coming by to the office essentially. So my collection is a mess. It's terrible. I even started a little TikTok thing called the world's worst record collection, because it's mostly crap that I have left. Of that 5,000 albums, there's like 2,000 cherished gems, and there's a pile of $1 records, like just
Yeah.
and it's just neat owning that stuff because it is from the 70s and 80s. I don't know what it is. It's just sitting there for me to explore one day and go and get a laugh off of, right? That's like I say, my favorite kind of new music is old music I know nothing about. And I have tons and tons of records like that. So yeah, it's a mess of a collection. It's just a chaotic, amassed collection with tons of my favorite, most cherished items gone already again. So yeah, that's the rambling answer on my collection.
Okay, very cool. So to my story. So I have a daughter who's she's in her late 20s. So basically she was in a bar one night, and this guy approached her and said hi, my name is Tom and I'm from Cheap Trick. So she took a picture of the guy, comes home, asks me if that was really him, and immediately I knew. I know Cheap Trick because they were the first band I ever saw. And one of the first things I did was I went to your site, martinpopoff.com, because I see that there's a picture right in the front of you with Rick Nielsen and Tom Peterson. So I showed her this picture of Tom Peterson, and she's like, "Oh, no, that's not him." I mean, the funny thing is, the guy, if you looked at this picture, he looks like the cover of the first Gentle Giant album.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's passing himself off as Tom Peterson. But
Okay. Right. Oh yeah, the old man with the white hair and balding, and yeah, oh yeah, that's
yeah, but so
yeah.
so I showed her your picture, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I've been had."
Funny. Wow. Where is that? What town would that have been in?
It's down on the south shore of Long Island, like
Okay.
Baldwin, New York, I believe it is. Yeah.
Okay. So they're from Chicago, obviously. So why would he be there, kind of thing? Also,
Yeah.
right? I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. I told her that too. I'm like, yeah, they're from the Chicago area.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny. I'll tell you a crazy story. This is one from my past that I just can't believe, but I remember somehow I got set up with an interview with Phil Mogg. And it turned out to be, I think the guy was in Buffalo, and he was being an imposter of Phil Mogg. And I'm interviewing him on the phone.
Okay.
And it's like, this is not Phil Mogg. And he's like doing this fake British accent and all this. And I'm just going along with it because I think this is the most bizarre thing in the world, right? I'm doing this phone interview. I can't remember how we got hooked up, but so I'm interviewing a total imposter, right? And then so this is like 20 years ago. And then like 4 or 5 months later, an acquaintance of mine said, I was on a plane sitting next to a guy, and he swore up and down he was Martin Popoff, and he was like telling me about all these books he's done and all this stuff.
God.
And he says, "Yeah, I'm sitting next to this guy, and he's impersonating you on a plane."
What's wrong with people?
Weird mystery, eh? And I've always wondered, given that this was a few months apart, not years and years apart, I'm wondering, are these two weird things related in some way?
Because people, they live these fantasies, but I love, my passion in life is to bust people out that do that, catch them in their lie.
Yeah.
But I've done that a few times.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. But in any event, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on, Martin. And
yeah, it's been fun. Thanks.
Can't
cool
wait.
Questions.
I'm sorry.
Cool questions. Really neat.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get that book. I'm so looking forward to it. And, I'd like to collaborate further with you in the future on a topic that,
Sure, sounds good. Just keep me posted. Let me know what you've got in mind. That book
Okay.
should be there any minute. I mean, it's been what, 4 or 5 days now, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
I was
that.
a little
Should be
remiss.
there any second. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I work from home, so and I work right by the front door, so I hear them.
Yeah.
So no chance of any thefts at my house. So,
Yeah. Good. All right, man. Thanks again.
but yeah, thank you very much. And I just to the audience, I just like to say thank you for watching. Jack Toledano for all or none according to Jack. If you like what I do, please subscribe. I welcome any of your comments. Please put your comments in the comment section. And once again, I just want to say thank you so much, Martin. And we'll do this again sometime.
Sounds good.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Have a good one, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.